So I just want to welcome everyone this evening to the fireside chat. My name is Vegas, also known as Natalie, and this evening joining us is Joseph Machado. Joseph lives in Massachusetts and is currently in his last semester of law school. He will be graduating with both his MBA and Juris Doctorate in May, and he will be taking the bar in July and plans to practice in Massachusetts with a focus on family law. In 2011, Joseph graduated with a degree in operations management. So think of it as a business degree focused in statistics. And he worked in the manufacturing field as an industrial engineer, something like Six Sigma and quality control. In 2012, when he had at his first job, he decided to open up an IRA, which is how he was introduced to investing. Joseph became serious about investments back in 2015 when he made the decision to leave his career and pursue his dream to become a lawyer. His investment style that you'll hear about this evening is that of a long-term investor, mainly due to the demanding and stressful schedule of pursuing both his MBA and JD simultaneously. And you can imagine how he doesn't have the time to day trade or intently watch these trades. The majority of his portfolio is invested in large caps. So for long-term investment, he's a firm believer in fundamental analysis. And what he looks for are companies that have great cash flow, growth year over year in terms of their return on assets and return on equity, and have competent management in place. For the duration of 2017, he was actually invested in the following: BA, WMT, MSFT, FB, and MU. So some names that are common are obviously Bank of America, Microsoft, Facebook. In speaking with Joseph prior to tonight's event, it's evident that he is a chartist and he believes in statistics and technical analysis in trading. Although he is a long-term investor, which you'll hear about this evening, he is very well versed in day trading and swing trading. In addition, he has more than just a working knowledge of trading. He has a lot of technical indicators, understanding their inner workings, and uses that knowledge to create scripts for TOS and to create educational videos, for which he has an existing YouTube channel, which we will post later tonight for you to access. During the same year, in 2017, Joseph started Technical Trade Room because he saw a need for a free alternative to the paid training groups that were made traders feel that they were incompetent or incapable of being a successful trader without paying professional traders $500 to $1,000 a year to learn how to trade. His goal was to take these difficult subjects and make them accessible and easy to learn for the average new trader. He also started making the educational videos, opened up a Discord group with a focus on education, not just to become another call room or yet another group that's trying to take advantage of traders. A few months back, he was introduced to TJ. They shared a mutual connection. They were obviously both operating rooms with similar goals and mission. Eventually realized that due to his schooling schedule and future as a practicing lawyer, that he would be unable to give the attention to his technical trading room. So they finalized a merger between the two groups, and the rest is history, and now he is part of United Traders. Joseph also has a 4-year-old corgi named Cooper. And now we'll begin to focus on the chat with Joseph. And so, Joseph, how are you tonight, first of all?
I'm doing well, Vegas. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you, everyone, for showing up this evening. Vegas, you covered everything, so that's perfect. Everyone have a good night. Have a good one.
Yeah, we're done.
Yeah, we're done. We're done. We did it. That's good.
Okay, that's great. So, Joseph, I have a list of questions here that I want to ask you because so many people are excited that you joined the group, and they've, some of them have even seen your YouTube videos, and very impressive, and found it very easy to understand the content, the way that you explain things. So I have some questions I'm going to ask you throughout the evening, and towards the end of the night, we'll just open up to the studio audience and ask if there's any additional questions that they probably would love to know. So first off, can you tell us, what introduced you to trading and investing?
So for me, like I said, back in 2011, I graduated. I had my first big boy job in 2012. Basically, I had an IRA. It was my first opportunity to save money and work towards my future. And I had an opportunity to either let Fidelity take control of that and manage it for me, or to have an opportunity to manage it myself. And that was a turning point for me, because up until that point, I had never given a second of thought in terms of how I would ever manage my own investments. So this was a great opportunity for me, and I was able to get introduced at that point in time.
Okay, great. And I think a lot of people sometimes fall into the same situation. So that's great. So can you tell us, like, how long have you been actively involved in the capital markets?
So I've been actively involved since about 2012. I did get serious, like I said, around 2015, when I ended up making the decision to leave my career in order to pursue my dream to become a lawyer. It became evident at that point in time that it was imperative for me to really make sure that my finances were going to be in order, not just obviously because of wanting to have an early retirement and to have a good and easier lifestyle and to be able to provide for a family. My main thing was I wanted to be able to take control of myself, my personal investments. And 2015 opened up a little bit of a window for me to be able to start to really divulge into the intricacies of the equities market and to really begin to learn at that point in time.
Okay. So obviously we know that you're pursuing your MBA, you're pursuing your Juris Doctorate. So do you trade full time right now? And do you have other ventures that you're involved in? Maybe tell us about, what you're doing now with your trading, how you're spending your time with the trading.
Absolutely. So as you hinted to in the intro, thank you very much again. That was great. Because of the schedule that I have, I'm in my last semester with the bar looming in July. This is, and I'm sure a lot of people here can relate, right? For those who are not full-time traders, who do not have the schedules, who have full-time jobs outside of their investing, it's difficult in order to be able to keep track of everything to the extent that you would like to from time to time. And I lived that. I mean, I had some more time on my plate, but as you continue to get closer, for me, and just to give you guys a quick little bit of my schedule, and I do apologize, there are times where I really wish I could be a part of the group more than I am, but Monday and Friday are my times to be able to do personal bar study. That is basically 9 to 5, clock in, pick up books, look at black letter law, and really try to work towards taking that bar exam in July. Tuesday through Thursday is when I have classes. So I'm basically at school from 9 a.m. upwards until 10 p.m. on Wednesday. So I have extremely long days. So I'm sure, again, people with full-time jobs can definitely relate to that, just as it was for me when I did have my career in manufacturing. You simply just don't have the time to be able to work on that. So for me, finding solid companies that had great fundamentals, that showed, just competent leadership and management, and had really, really good fundamentals. And that was a goal for me over the course of 2017, were to find great companies to invest in and be able to set it and forget it to a certain extent.
Oh, I like that, because a lot of people actually have, they have other jobs and can't trade full time. So I like what you just said. So can you tell us, did you attend any educational institutions with a focus on financial planning, investment banking, accounting?
I did not. Other than having my business degree and working towards my MBA, I am self-taught. So what ends up happening is that, again, in 2012, I was introduced, and then going into 2015 is when I began to utilize online resources to be able to teach myself the intricacies of the market. And you combine that with the finance education that I am getting for my MBA, which of course does not go into the intricacies that would really help you to be a successful trader. But it was a great tandem, if you will, in order to be able to get both of those together. And again, to use great online resources, and to just name a few, you have Investopedia, which is a great one that I enjoy going to, and Stock Charts as well were two that I used heavily when I was a new trader attempting to find places to learn how to trade.
Okay, great. So what, obviously, you said, you talked about earlier when I was talking about your bio and I introduced you, we talked about how, you were working at one point and then you left that job to pursue your law designation. So did your job experiences that you've had in the past help you obtain skills that were beneficial to your trading?
That's a good one. So I would say that, and just I know it's really difficult to try and summarize what I did for work within a minute span or so, but when I worked in manufacturing, specifically within textiles, I was within that quality field, the quality control field. So there would be times where you would have a mistake happen while things are running at let's say 60 yards per minute in terms of fabric. And you have a limited amount of time for you to be able to make corrections on the fly, for you to be able to make sure that you're not going to continuously produce defective products. I found that my career within textiles, within glass, and within signs as well after that, when you are in a demanding and stressful field, being able to have a really cool demeanor, to be able to be calm when there is pressure around you, was extremely helpful when I began to really become serious about my trading, because there are going to be times where you're in the thick of it and you need to be able to take a second, and sometimes you don't even have that second, but you need to be able to take that quick little breather to relax, not let the moment overwhelm you, and to keep making sound and educated decisions as you go about your trading.
Sure. So obviously, you talked earlier about, you were self-taught. So did you have any other educational resources that helped you become more knowledgeable in your trading career?
So like I said, for me, when I really started to, again, teach myself and go through the intricacies of the equities market, it was in looking at the websites of Investopedia, looking at stock charts, looking at YouTube for videos that would help to begin to teach the basics to me. And then from that point, I began to look for chat rooms that I could be a part of in order to learn a little bit extra from people who could be a mentor for me, because being an island is not going to make you as successful as you would otherwise if you had a solid team behind you to be able to learn, again, the intricacies of things you don't know.
Okay. So, I know obviously that, you're not able to trade, you don't trade full time, and you're obviously involved in trading though. So can you tell us, what's your preferred style of trading? Are you into intraday, swings, long term? I know I talked about that you have a lot of long term investments, especially last year. But are you still in some long terms, or are you, holding some, and are you involved in some swings? Can you share that with us and let us know what you're doing with your trading these days?
Absolutely. So right around February 2nd, when things started to take a little bit of a turn for the worse, I decided to liquidate a majority of my assets that were long-term. However, things, at least in my opinion, are starting to look a little bit better right now. We fell back through into that channel. We had a great correction. So me and my personal opinion is that I expect to be getting back into my positions. And I know when we had that flash crash, I was in the chat room saying, try not to look at this as a negative thing in terms of a flash crash. I look at this as a flash sale. There are going to be opportunities for traders to get back into or be able to get into positions for companies that they may have never thought were going to be available for them because it was not simply in their price range. So for me, if I had to give you percentages before liquidating, I had about 80% of my portfolio in large caps, long-term trading. Again, set it, forget it, find these great companies. And I know we had a chance to talk about it a little bit, but for me, if it's not purely on fundamentals, I tell people, look around you, look for companies that you personally can't live without, that are major staples within your life, your Microsofts, your Facebook, if you are big into social media, finding these companies that mean a lot to you. Because in a sense, obviously you want them to be successful, but it makes you feel a little bit better at the end of the day when it's a company, especially long-term, that you're investing in, when you believe in their product, you believe in their service. So again, a majority for me is long-term. I do have 10% of my portfolio within cryptocurrency, which admittedly is the one area that I have not had a lot of experience in over the last several years. It is something that is more of a curiosity from my part, and I'm learning with everyone as well as I, again, try to get to a hang of the cryptocurrencies as well. The other 10% will go into short-term trades, the swings, and day trading from time to time when I do have the time to really get into trading for the day.
I love what you said, with what's happened lately in the markets, that it's an opportunity to buy things on sale. And it's so true. I mean, I personally was looking at, other for long-term investments, companies that maybe at one point were a lot more money, and, they had pulled back. And, I was looking for things on sale too. So I was kind of looking at it, this really affects a lot of people that really need their money. But then the ones that don't need their money, they were doing a couple things. They were either scaling out or, they were adding. So it really depends on, your trading strategy. So hopefully it's going to start turning in the right direction, and we'll see what happens with the markets. So can you tell us, obviously, you have a personal trading strategy. So I'd love if you could share that and tell us a little more about what that strategy is about.
Absolutely. Glad to do so. So let's cover what I look for when I am trying to find a long-term investment. So for me, I find two major things, or we'll call it three major things that I look for. First of all is that I love companies that have cash flow, whether if it's cash flow per share or if you're looking for free cash flow per share. That is regardless of what they're going to list on their their generally accepted accounting principles and what they put out on their reports. Regardless of what type of practices that they're using, it really boils down for me at the end of the day, if what kind of cash flow is coming into this company. Are they going to be able to have cash on hand in order to continue buying products if they are in a manufacturing sector? Are they going to have a large amount of investments or, cash flow coming in if they are even in the service sector of it? Regardless of it, I find that a company that has great cash flow is extremely important. The other two that I really try and look for specifically are going to be return on assets and return on equity. So when I'm looking for return on assets year over year, because of the amount of growth that we had and because of the tax cuts that are coming in, and I hope that things continue to work out well and we continue to see great growth over the course of 2018. But I believe I shared an actual a scan in the long-term chat that people can go and access. I'll go grab it as well and paste it in this chat as well. But what I look for again is companies that have great year-over-year percentage increases on their return on assets and their return on equity. And currently within this annual year are listed as having positive return on assets and return on equity. I basically look for those three things while making sure that I'm, in just a personal preference for me, I like to find stocks that are over $5 per share and have an average volume of being over 1 million shares traded within a 50 simple moving period. And of course, one major thing for me as well is to make sure that they are optionable as well, in case there is a play for me to be able to open up some option plays as well.
Oh, and I like that.
Yeah,
I like that idea, because a lot of
people really falls back into, absolutely. That really falls back into, if it's optionable, chances are it's going to be a lot more liquid. And for me, again, if I'm in these large caps or even, mega caps, if you want to use that terminology, I'm really trying to get into these companies that are really, really large, have a lot of flow, they have a lot of cash going into them, and they're making sure that they're taking that money and utilizing it well in terms of their equity and in terms of their assets.
Okay, so, we talked also that, you're a technical trader. So I really want to know, and I'm sure others want to know, how much do you rely on technical indicators in your fundamental analysis?
Absolutely. So for me, fundamental analysis is a great item for you when you are looking for long-term investments. When you are looking for shorter-term investments, although it is nice to understand the fundamentals of a company, I feel technical analysis is king. And even if you are looking at a long-term hold, a technical analysis is great for you to be able to get in at the right time, so to say. So for me, again, coming from a background that had a business degree that had a heavy statistics background, I really do believe in data. Of course, there is always going to be a emotional standpoint and a human standpoint to trading. But I think at the end of the day, and of course, this is an opinion that I have, that everything kind of comes back to center. So if you are dealing with, let's say, like a standard deviation and something is above a 2 standard deviation, we're calling that an outlier. I expect that to come back down to earth. I expect that to be able to equalize to a certain extent. So for me, again, I look at technical analysis because it paints a picture, if not on an overall view. I specifically really enjoy using it when I'm looking at a daily chart and I'm trying to figure out where an equity is, where it's going to potentially go. When I'm looking at more of an intraday chart, I'm kind of more relying on basically just your volume, perhaps an RSI at most, maybe sometimes, a MACD, but I'm really looking at that volume too in the ticker, and I'm making sure that volume is teaching me, or leading me as to where I think the stock is going. But from more of a further back standpoint, if you'd like, I can list a variety of different technical analysis that I use when I'm on a daily chart and I'm trying to figure out where a stock may be, or where it is and where it may be going.
Yeah, well, I think we'd like to hear that. Do you have time for that?
Absolutely.
Okay, so let's hear it.
Yeah, sure. What I'm going to do, I'm going to post up a setup for you guys.
Okay, can you post it in the channel that we're in right now?
That's exactly what I'm doing right now. I'm posting up a setup for everyone right now.
Love
this is my go-to if I am going to be basically my go-to screen whenever I'm up on Thinkorswim and I'm in the process of trading. This is what I mostly have up. So what I'm going to be looking at here, and you guys can go through with it with me as well. When I am looking at, again, if I'm looking at a daily chart, I love to have the Ichi Moku, and that's one that I always have almost with me all the time. As you guys know, I did create a study that I posted on in the group. I'll be glad to share that in the main chat. But basically, it covers the 5 major Ichi Moku trading tactics, and it gives you the entries for them based on those 5, which would be Kijun, Tenkan, Senko, Chikuspan, and I'm sorry, I'm missing another one. You'll have to bear with me, but we'll just continue from that point rather than just dwelling on it. But it shows the 5 different strategies, and it also has what I call the Chiku checker as well. A seasoned Ichi Moku trader will always look to the Chiku span for that indication as to whether or not if it is going to be a go-to, or if it's a go or if it's a no-go for them. So, like I said, please check that out. It's a great little indicator that I put together. I'd love for you guys to be able to utilize it, but I'm a little bit of an Ichi Moku freak. I really enjoy using it, so you'll always see that on my charts, regardless of where I'm at, if it's a daily or if it's an intraday. I personally enjoy Mobius's relative volume study, which I have. I think it's great for when you are in the midst of an intraday and you are trying to see where that volume is. It has great little menus that show you specific items that are really pertinent when you're in the midst of a trade. RSI and MACD, I almost always have on every single chart that I am looking at as well. For obvious purposes, those are just my opinion, but I think those are standards that everyone should have on their charts. DMI I more use for, again, when I'm looking at a daily chart, I want to look at where a equity is and where it may be going. Stochastic fast, again, I try not to get into an issue of multi-collinearity, but I do like to have 2 momentum rate of changes on there. I do like to have 2 trends. Just for the people who are listening right now, the 2 momentums that are there would be the stochastic and the RSI, and the 2 that are there for trends looking on moving averages would be the MACD and the DMI that I have there, or Wilder's DMI. So those are 2, although some could say that is multicollinearity. Again, it just makes me comfortable to have that, so that's what I prefer to have. I do have a money flow, which is just a edited version of the Chaikin money flow. And again, that's also very helpful when you're in the midst of a trade and you're trying to see what's going on. But like I said, end all be all for me, especially if it's going to be on a intraday trade, or if it's a swing or it's a short-term hold for me, is going to be that right side of the screen that you have. That's where I'm going to be making my moves. And I have there Bollinger Bands. I have a 9. I have a 20 exponential moving average, and I have a 50 simple moving average, along with support and resistance, and parabolic SARs as well. So those are my major.
That's a lot of info on a chart.
That is a lot of info on a chart, and I will admit there are times where, you know, for me, I'm a little bit of a perfectionist, so paralysis through analysis can be an issue. Oh, sorry, I just saw here Super Bloom saying, please explain multicollinearity for the audience. So multicollinearity, as a side note, is when you're, I listed it as having, when you have something that's showing you momentum and you have rate of change and you're trying to see that particular information, the stochastic, the RSI, the commodity channel index, Williams percent R, all of those to a certain extent are going to be giving you similar data. It's giving you similar, information. It's painting the same picture. It's using the same brush color. It might be in a slightly different style, but at the same point, you're going to be getting the same bits of information. So if you end up taking a chart and you end up putting in, stochastic, an ultimate oscillator, a rune, Williams percent R, you put all of these things on there, you're not going to get as much out of that chart as you would if you were to take some of those out, focus on one that really speaks to you, and then throw in, something that tries to look at trend using moving averages, throwing in an ATR, throwing in, a price oscillator, and then making sure that you have items that are going to tell you about volume, accumulation, and distribution, looking at the Chaikin money flow, perhaps having an on-balance volume, finding things that speak to you, but having, and I like to always look at this in a way where I have 3 particular items. I have one that's showing me rate of change, I have one that's showing me moving averages, and I have one that's really going to try and paint a picture for volume. And for those 3, I try and have on one chart at all times. I try not to, again, have that multicollinearity issue where, again, I'm just seeing the same information, just using different indicators.
Wow, that's really good. I mean, I love money flow. I mean, I just started using that a few months ago, and I started also getting a little more involved with the Ichi Moku cloud, really more for my swing trades, not necessarily for day trades, because some of these indicators for just day trades where I just momentum play, I don't really put in all these other indicators. So that's very helpful to those that like swing trades or they're looking for long-term trades. Not to say that they're not good for day trades either. They're good, but sometimes when you're into momentum trades, it's hard to look at all of those indicators. So I just want to ask you, so you talked about how, you're very detailed and you're a perfectionist. Are you sure you're not in finance? You sure you want to do family law? But I just want to know, what resources do you use to research a company? Because I got to tell you, so many people that, let's say, work and that trade part-time, they want to do swing trades too. So, obviously, we want to become self-sufficient and be able to find our own swing trade ideas. So what are some things that you look for before you decide, what, I'm looking to invest in this company?
Absolutely. So, I touched upon it very briefly before, which was, I think for any particular investor, if you're looking for a long-term trade, if you are looking for a long-term trade, I honestly can't give you a better, suggestion on my part, is other than look around you. Again, look, and I know that's how I operate when I'm looking for a majority of my investments. I know my girlfriend really enjoyed this one recently, but specifically around the northeastern area, I saw a lot of Ultas pop up recently. And I made the decision. I said, you know what? This is a big business with a great CEO at the helm. They look like they got their stuff together. The financials could be a little bit better, but at the end of the day, they're showing good growth. Let's make an investment in this. And within a matter of a couple of months, I saw some great returns on Ulta. But again, I just tell people, look around you, look for companies that interest you, that you believe in their mission, that you believe in their products, that you can't, at least in your mind, you can't live without them, or you would rather not live without them. If you invest in those companies, at the end of the day, you believe in the product that they're putting out there. And that's what ultimately investing is supposed to be about in my eyes. It's about giving a investor the opportunity to be a part owner in something. It doesn't just have to be about another opportunity for you to make a profit at the end of the day. Sometimes it's a little bit more than just making the profit. Obviously, you would like to, but again, if you're invested in something that you believe in, it makes you feel a little bit better at the end of the day when you close up the position or when you go to sleep at night. I know for me, that's how it is. But just to touch upon the other part of your question, which was, what do I use in order to find trades? And that would be, honestly, I am a big proponent, or excuse me, a big advocate for free information. So I try my best. And I know when I was over at TTR, a majority of the people who were in the group, and I know a majority of individuals here as well, you know, they're not going to have the $100 or $120 a month to be able to, you know, purchase and utilize trade ideas. They're not going to have the $60 a month to be able to get, you know, the extra information that you could get from a Zacks, from, you know, these research companies that give you this information. So I made it an effort of mine while I was at TTR to find free resources that would allow me to get similar information. And I honestly, I could not find a better resource, at least for me and my long-term trades, than Thinkorswim itself. I think what is a widely underutilized portion of Thinkorswim is their Analyze tab on the Thinkorswim platform. And it's a free service, you know, a free program. All you need to do is to open up an account. You don't need to fund it. So those who don't currently utilize Thinkorswim, it is my go-to. You know, TD is my broker, but and you can say I'm sorry, or you can say my condolences. I know TD for me, but TD is for me. It is my broker of choice, and I really do love Thinkorswim. It's where I build my scripts. It's where I, you know, do, you know, majority of my trading. So. Like I said, their Analyze tab is extremely undervalued. People don't know a lot about it. It is amazing for fundamentals, and it's also great because they have a nice little earnings tab as well that you can get to see how a company performed over the last several earnings. And honestly, you know, I use it more just to see where the actual was in relation to Wall Street and Estimize. You know, I try not to do too many earnings plays, but I try to really just focus in on that fundamentals tab, which is, again, outstanding. I'll give you a quick little briefing of what it is. It'll give you the company. You punch in the ticker for it. It'll give you the company's name. It'll give you where it is, where its growth was over the last trading day. It'll give you what sector it's in. And then immediately under that, it goes over different firms that have given their rating on it and what you should or might want to do based upon that, whether if they're telling you to reduce or accumulate, whether if they list it as a 1-star or a 5-star, or if they tell you to avoid it or go long in it. They always have several reports that you can look in depth, or you can download to be able to look in depth. And it is, again, it's next level. It's what you guys would want to have if you're really going to be making some long-term investments, because it's going to go everything from those financials that we're talking about. It's going to go over the recommendations, highlights, the industry analysis, where the industry is going to be going. And they're going to talk about factors that show you why this is a good or a potentially bad decision for you to get into. These are, again, for me, invaluable resources that I utilize when I'm trying to find the inner workings of a company. And I look for those, you know, doing a SWOT analysis, right? I'm looking for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So I'm looking at these ratings and these in-depth, you know, again, these in-depth reports that are put out. And it is absolutely, you know, imperative for me. I cannot live without these things. And it's just my guilty pleasure. I love to read them. And it's a great thing for me when I'm trying to, again, learn about someone before I'm investing in them. So again, Thinkorswim, if you don't have an account, get it. It's free. You don't have to fund it. Utilize that Analyze tab and learn about the company. You know, you're going to be able to do things that you never thought you were able to do. And it's a great, great feature.
And I love that you said it was free, because, you know, a lot of people that are probably listening don't even use Thinkorswim, and they're probably thinking, how do I get access to this, you know, this Analyze tab? So like Joseph just said, you can just set up an account. You don't have to fund it. And then you can go to the Analyze tab and access this free information, which is very helpful to help everyone that's looking to analyze, obviously, companies that they might be interested to, you know, invest in for either a swing or a longer term position. So that is really worth even showing up tonight to get that information, because you don't know what you don't know, right?
Absolutely.
So
and that's
thank you
why,
for telling us that.
Absolutely. And that's why, you know, chats like this are a great resource. I know I listen to everyone that I can. whether if you are well seasoned or whether or not if you're new, the whole point, especially being in a group like United Traders, is to come in and learn something that you didn't know the day before. And that day, and to help someone potentially with something that they might not have known as well. Sorry, just one real quick thing that I really wanted to hit upon for that Analyze tab that I know I really personally, really get a kick out of is for, major or larger companies. If you were to scroll all the way down on that Analyze tab, for example, like if you were to punch in Boeing on that Analyze tab, you make your way down. They have a nice little tab which calls What Drives the Stock. And I think that that is a absolute, nail it out of the park little feature that they have for Thinkorswim. You're able to go into these individual, sectors of what builds up this price of the stock, or what builds up the, again, the company and where their business is. And you can, based on individual forecasts for each of those little bits. So for Boeing, you're looking at commercial airplanes, you're looking at U.S. defense, space and security. Those are the two major items. It's going to consist of over 90% of what Boeing has for their business. You can look at those individual items and the forecasts that are expected for those individual places, and you can work and you can actually change the forecast, and it will reflect back on an estimated price for the stock. So if, for example, and this is just an opinion, of course, no one has to, chime in or subscribe to this.
You're just talking about, your experience and your opinion. So by all means, please share it.
Absolutely. And I know for me over on TTR, as soon as, Trump got elected and he was, our president, I immediately went to, the chat and said, it's time to start investing in defense stocks. Regardless, one way or another, I personally expected defense spending to be at George W. Bush era levels. I expected us to have an increase in spending on that end of it. So looking at companies like Boeing, like Raytheon, those were going to be great investments for you at that time. And again, if you're able to go into these individual forecasts, let's say you felt that, their total spending for the Department of Defense or NASA, you thought was going to be a little bit lower than what is projected, you can actually make those changes between years, 2019 through 2024, and it will reflect back at a potential estimated price for the stock. And again, nothing's ever going to be set in stone. Everything can change, with the flip of a coin, but it's just a cool little feature for you to be able to look at something and say, you know what? I really don't see Boeing having $378 billion worth of their, business being in U.S. defense spending. I see it at being closer to $361 billion, and you can see how that's going to affect the stock's price. And I think that that is, again, just something that is so cool that you're not going to get anywhere else. It's just something that I really, really enjoy utilizing.
Well, you know what? I'm going to use it too, because I didn't even know that existed. And I'm not a TOS user, but I'm definitely going to check it out. So thank you so much for that information. I'm sure we've made a lot of people happy, or even the ones that are using it didn't even know about the Analyze tab. So this is really, really, really helpful. So I want to ask you, so obviously with your trading, you've probably encountered, some obstacles. Can you tell us, if you did, what did you encounter with your trading, and, how did you overcome them? Because that's one of the things that is a challenge for a lot of people. You get into, a trade that obviously is challenging, or it's not going the way you want it. So how do you overcome these things? Can you share with us some experiences that you've had with maybe some trades that you've taken and how you handled them?
Absolutely. So one of the major hurdles that any trader is going to run into is going to be getting over, the psychological barriers that prevent you from being the best trader that you can be. And I know for me, like I said, I'm someone who is a bit of a perfectionist. I like to see things where I like to see them and I want them to be. So if I have a chart up and, the indicators aren't lining up exactly where I would like them to be, there are times where I kind of take a step back and say, I'm not going to invest in this because it's not perfect, or at least it's not what I would like to see. nothing is perfect in life. And many times, I lose out or I miss out on opportunities because, again, it's a little bit of a paralysis through analysis. I want to meet that perfect little get together and then, join in, make that minor commitment to the stock and then be able to sell it off. But there are times where you miss out on that because you're a little bit, like I said, paralysis through analysis. But when you're able to take a step back, and you really take advantage of, like I said, as being from a psychological standpoint, having a trading mentality to where you say, there is nothing wrong with wanting to see something that's perfect, but don't miss out on opportunities that fits, 9 out of 10 of your signs. Don't wait for that 10th sign to come up because nothing is ever going to be perfect in life. And sometimes you miss out on the best things by waiting for it to be perfect. The second is, of course, any point in time, you could get into a short-term trade. And I remember, being a younger trader and getting into trades, the moment that things would start to go south, I would immediately start to panic. And that was a major barrier for me when I first started to trade, because you would invest in it. And especially if you have a smaller account, or if it's money that you really, want to hold on to. Obviously, I always say never trade with money that you cannot afford to lose. But there are times, even if it is $1,000 or even if it's $500 for some really small account traders who are out there, that's your $500. You want to make sure it goes well. So when you're a new trader, running into that psychological barrier of, oh crap, everything's going to, to heck and I'm going to lose my money. Sometimes you end up making decisions based on the split second, issue. But that really boils down into having a good trading mentality, right? That is waking up every morning and following a good routine. For me, that's, having breakfast, making sure that I am, getting behind my computer. If I am going to do trading for the day, that is having a good breakfast, getting behind the computer. If, try and find things that are moving pre-market. If I'm not getting into them, I'm almost simulating trades in my mind. I'm thinking, I'm going to get into this stock before the market's open, before I place a trade. I'm doing, almost virtual trades within my head. I'm getting myself mentally ready as I start to get my day going. I'm looking at my news sources. I'm looking to see if there's anything big on things that I'm invested in or things I want to invest in. I'm looking at, any reports that might have come out post-market that I didn't catch or pre-market that might have come out. I'm looking at, important things that try and help me get ready mentally for the trading day. That is something that helps me, like I said, mentally get in to the proper mentality. And it really boils down, and I hate to say it, but for me, it really boils down to experience. You can read as many books as you want to read. You can, have seminars. You can go to someone who's going to tell you that you need to be, cold stone. You got to make sure that you, and this is true for everything. And I will reiterate this 1,000 times over. It's all about risk management. It's about proper sizing of your positions. That's what's going to help you be successful. But until you actually place the order and it gets filled and you're actually in that and it's real to you, it doesn't matter how many books you read. It doesn't matter, how many seminars you were a part of or how many live chats you were a part of. Not until your actual money is on the line and you feel that little bit of your livelihood out there do you actually start to feel that gut, that little pit in your stomach that goes, did I make the right decision or did I not make the right decision? And it honestly takes practice to be able to get out there. And I always really try and push forward to new traders, use, features on Thinkorswim like the play money that they have on there. Utilize features like that just so you can get a feel for it before you start to invest your own money. Because again, once you start to invest your own money, it becomes real and you have to start to work over those barriers. It's knowing that you did the appropriate due diligence, that you're looking and you've done enough research, you've done enough studying on your part. When you see that sell volume coming off and the buy volume starting to come in, when that RSI is about to pop up, you're looking at your support and your resistance levels, regardless of what you are as a trader. Maybe you're in it looking for extremes on RSI, you're looking at your Bollinger Bands, whatever you're looking at, you understand what your trading style is. You've got it down pat in your mind as to what you do. you set up stop losses, whether or not if you're a 3 to 5% person or if you're a 5 to 7% like me, you're setting these things up before you're even getting into the trade because you're setting yourself up for success. And again, it boils down from waking up in the morning to getting the proper mentality, to get yourself in there. And that was a major issue for me. And it only takes time and practice. And once you get that down is when you can start to overcome those barriers, when you can start to make those big gains and start to, really push your trading further.
I really love what you said because, so many people just jump into trades and they really don't take the time to, at least look at the chart and, they just jump because, they have fear of missing out, right? So I really like about, some of the things you touched on. So one of the things that I loved what you just said actually was, position sizing. So can you touch a little bit about that? Because, one of the things that people probably do, especially when you're new in trading and you're finally, you're going to trade now with some real capital. And, I don't really care if someone's trading with $300 or $1,000, you're still putting money on the line. So, you're in the trade. So if someone's new and, this is really who I want to touch upon is really for new traders or even people with smaller accounts. When there is a trade that you look at, Joseph, and you're thinking this is a good setup, for even a day trade, what position size do you go? Do you take a starter position and then to kind of see where it's going to go, or do you just say, you know what, I want to put in 5,000 right away on this trade? I'm going in with 5,000. So can you talk about that and how you make that decision?
Absolutely. So first things first, never, ever, again, this is my own opinions. This is how I handle things. Everyone is more than welcome to do things differently, but never, ever put more than 20% of your portfolio into one particular item. Don't ever do that. I look at this as, if you have $1,000 for your account and you go all in and you love this one particular item and you're all in and you lose half of your position, right? Even though you're down 50% on it, you need to go up 100% just to get back to where you were to start off with. It's all about sizing. It's about understanding where you are, what you have for an account size, and what you can reasonably trade. And I find that to be one of the major pitfalls that I see a lot of new traders getting into. You have a lot of younger people who have maybe $500, if not a little bit less, in order to start trading. And they go, well, I can't buy Amazon. I can't buy these larger companies. So they go, you know what, forget it. I'm going to go to the casino, basically. Let's do, full on penny stocks and let's go into these things that I don't know anything about. And I just go ahead and pump my money into it. And before you know it, I'm down, a majority of my portfolio. I look at that and I say, that is a missed opportunity, because if you are, again, a part of a group like United Traders, you have an opportunity to learn the basics that's going to push you forward to be a good trader. And honestly, again, that boils down to proper position sizing and risk management. I cannot stress that enough. For me, like I said, at no point in time am I ever going to put more than 20% of my portfolio into something, even if I think it's a shoe-in. If I think I'm going and it's something that I have personally trained myself to do, even if I think within a 24-hour period I can somehow magically double what I'm going to invest in this, it is no larger than 20% of my portfolio at any given time. End of discussion. That's how I handle it. Now, regarding how much exactly I'm going to put into that, that's going to depend on what I perceive that volatility as being. So if this is going to be something that, based upon a variety of different factors, I might look at implied volatility. I might look at the available shares outstanding on the stock. I might look at, a variety of different things that's going to tell me what I might expect here. If it's, if it's a small cap, if it's got small shares, I'm going to put an even smaller amount into that stock. At least for me, when I'm dealing with a small cap stock, or I have one that has a smaller amount of outstanding shares, or there is a chance for there to be high amounts of volatility within that particular trade, I'm looking at maybe perhaps 5%. I'm maybe looking at something that's going to make it to where, if I do end up getting stopped out at that, 5 to 7% that I do have there, it's 5 to 7% of 5%, at most maybe 10% of my portfolio. And I don't take a large hit. And that allows you, As a trader, again, it's your positions, it's proper sizing, and it's risk management. It's making sure that you're putting in the appropriate stop losses that's going to help you, again, take advantage of, I know for me, being honest, right, I'm probably right 65% of the time. So 35% of the time, I'm wrong. Those 35% of the trades that I'm wrong in, I'm making sure that I have set myself up for success by looking into what I need to look into, doing the due diligence, setting up a good position, getting in, and if it doesn't work out, then I'm out. Once I end up hitting that stop loss, I'm not going to ride this. If it's going to break, it's going to break. If it's not, it's not. It's making sure that those 65% that you're in, that you're taking advantage of, that's going to allow you to be profitable and to be successful. And like I said, that boils down into risk management that we're talking about right now. And that to make sure that you're not going to get hit or killed on these, trades that don't go well, it's about proper sizing and making sure that for me, again, it's nowhere over 20%. And if I'm dealing with something that's a lot more volatile, then I'm going to be putting in a smaller percentage of my portfolio. If it is a large cap, if it is something that has high liquidity, it's something that has a lot of shares outstanding and large volume on a daily basis, those long-term investments, then I am looking at that 20%. But if I'm going into something again that's more volatile, then I'm putting less and less of my portfolio into that.
And that's very helpful because I find sometimes when we're trading, especially with these low float trades, extremely volatile, and they can easily run up really fast and then very quickly below your entry point. So I like how you talked about the different position sizing, and really, 20% is a good, of your cash is what you should be trading with, right? With the trade.
Yep.
So. Obviously, I know you said too that, you don't trade every day and you trade when you can because, you're just not busy enough getting 2 degrees and getting ready to write the bar. But can you talk about, how much time you spend outside of the market hours to study and then to prepare for your next trading session?
Absolutely. So I almost take I guess you could say, an academic approach when it comes to, studying and getting ready for a market day. So if I am going to be trading during the day, I'm going to try and tackle, if I can, preferably within the first hour, if not the first 2 hours at the start of the trading day. That's where a majority of my trades are going to go down, or perhaps maybe the last hour of trading within the day, unless, something comes up on a scanner that says that I really need to start paying attention to it. Again, a majority of my trades I find are in the morning between that 9:30 to 10:30 point, sometimes up until, as late as lunchtime. I find lunchtime, things start to die off a bit. People are going to grab lunch. I know I'm hungry. I want to go grab lunch. So I leave to go grab lunch. And then that last hour I find is another opportunity for me. So I look at that and I say, okay, let's say I put in 2 hours into that particular trading day. I look at that as saying, well, if I'm going to put 2 hours into that trading day, I want to try and prep 2 hours prior to that. I might do that maybe 2 hours before the day. So like I said, if I am waking up at, let's say, 6 o'clock in the morning, I'm getting up, I'm stretching, maybe doing a little bit of exercise. I'm going to make myself something to eat. And I will then take that time from 7 to 9 o'clock to do my morning routine, to look into those things that I was talking about earlier, looking at the news, looking at technicals, looking at reports that were placed out there, and making decisions on what I'm going to do for that day, what I'm looking at, and doing that background research. At the end of the day, if I'm not studying, if I'm not doing what I'm, doing for the law degree in my MBA, then I'll take maybe an hour or two as well. Again, so I try and match the amount of hours that I'm utilizing in the market. I try and match that with study hours. And I find that is a good 1-to-1 ratio. If we want to say risk reward ratio, right? If you're willing to risk 2 hours worth of your time in the market, you should be at least a 1-to-1 or perhaps a 2-to-1. You want to get that reward, putting in that time. You want to have at least 2 hours of study, perhaps maybe 4 hours of study, to really make sure that you are up to date as to what's going on with the markets. You're looking at the futures in the morning. You're looking into whatever you happen to be investing in, what you want to look into. You're doing an ample amount of work you're getting yourself prepared, and then you're getting into the trading for the day.
So can you tell us, we talked about, what you do in the morning pre-market. So I don't think we need to cover that any further, because I think you talked about, have breakfast, you check the news, you look for scans, unless you have anything to add to your pre-market routine. Do you have anything else to add to that?
I do not. I think basically, again, you wake up, you try and get yourself in the best mental state that you can, right? You maybe perhaps want to take, I guess, a profile for the day. You want to wake up and say, today's going to be a good day, or is today going to be a bad day? If it's going to be a bad day in your mind, try and find something that's going to, to think about, that's going to help you get into a good mood before you make your way into the trading. It's one of those where it's like, if you go in thinking that today's going to be a really bad day, you're going to be down on yourself. The first trade that goes south, you're just going to potentially, get into a little bit of a rut, and you want to make sure that you are in a positive mindset. You don't want to go into the trading day, feeling, FOMO. You don't want to be like, oh man, well, I just missed out on that, and I'm not really feeling lucky today. So let me go ahead and jump on something that I really shouldn't be jumping on, just because I want to make sure I lock in some kind of profit that I'm not getting yet. You want to avoid those. You want to make sure that you have the right mindset. You want to make sure that you're of sound mind, and you want to make sure that you're going to make, educated decisions when you're on the day. And that really boils down to, again, the psychology behind it, making sure you're following your routine in the morning, doing some, pre-trading in the morning, watching the markets, looking at whatever is going to help you in the particular equities that you're trading. And then once you're in that right mindset, hit the go button and start for the day.
I love it. I love it. And you know what? If you're not in a good mood, I suggest you don't trade, because you know what? You're not off to a good start, right?
Absolutely.
So how does trading with a group like United Traders then benefit you? I mean, you had a chat room, you've merged here. So how are you, or, your feedback from your team that's joined us, how does trading with a group actually benefit you?
So no one man or no one woman or no one person is going to be, they can be successful on their own, and that's perfectly fine. If you're able to find success on your own, then more power to you. But if you don't know something, someone, one way or shape or another, whether it's through some form of, of website, or if it's through a book, or if it's through a video that you're going to watch, someone is going to help teach you something that you didn't know beforehand, right? When we all started trading, you did not know what you know today. In fact, when we all started, right, we were all very, very new, very green. We didn't know what the heck we were doing. It's because of people, like you guys. It's because of groups like this that you're able to help people get a good footing when they start their trading career. Because of groups like this allows people to get that good start, to be able to learn the basics of what equity trading is, to be able to learn what fundamental and technical analysis is, and why it's important for you, why you should be paying attention to volume, and why you should be paying attention to the tape when you're in the midst of a trade, why fundamental analysis is extremely important when you're doing long-term trades. These are things that you don't know. And until you have, a mentor, I mean, heck, there's a reason why the large finance groups work in teams. It's because of the fact that you're going to have strengths and you're going to have weaknesses. And it's any business for that matter, not just in financials. When you have a strength and you have a weakness, it's imperative for you to have a cross-functional group that allows you to pick up on those weaknesses with someone else, because that's going to be their strength. And when you're down, someone can pick you up. And when you have, almost like a military mindset to a certain standpoint, you don't leave someone behind. You pick that person up, you drag them along to the finish line, you teach that person, what they're trying to learn, you help them be successful with everything you can. When you work in a group and you're a part of a group like United Traders, it really is such a, invaluable tool to allow you to learn, to grow, and to be successful. Because otherwise, if you had to do it on your own, it would be not impossible, but it's a heck of a lot easier when you've got a group like United Traders, where there is just a plethora of extremely talented, really nice people who look out for each other. And you use your strengths to help another person's weaknesses, and you use their strengths to help your own. No one person is bigger than the team, and we all work together towards that goal. That is absolutely imperative to success as a trader and in life. And that's some major skills, or some major things that United Trader brings to me and it brings to everyone who's here. We're all a part of a team, we're a part of a family, and we're all working towards a common goal.
Well, I've got to say that we have people that actually have completed the military and they've trained, and they're probably listening to the chat. So thank them for their service, and God bless America, right?
Absolutely. Thank you very much for your service.
Thank you very much for their service and contributions, and we're happy to have them here. So I want to ask you, because, you've been trading for a while, and, everyone's always, especially when they're starting out or they've been doing it for a little while, how long did it take you to become a consistently profitable trader?
So that is a great question. The main reason why is that I'm sure many of us can attest to this. It was not overnight. A lot of people think that this is something that you pick up and you're going to be able to learn the basics and you're going to be fine. Even when I started to, take a hold of everything and really tried to learn the intricacies, it took me, I would say, probably 2 years to be a consistently successful, trader, to be able to go from, originally being at 40% right and 60% wrong to eventually getting it to 65, right and 35% wrong. It took 2 years of pain. And thankfully for me, it, again, and I really stress this, don't ever trade with money that you don't have. Don't ever trade with money that is the difference between you paying your mortgage, your rent, your bills, providing food for your family, yourself. Always make sure that it's money that you can lose. And for me, a majority of my trading then and even now is on an IRA. And I cannot touch that money. It is something that is there for my future. It is something that is there, for me when I retire. And that's how I look at it. It's something that I look at as a younger individual, being in his late, 20s. Oops, I let that one slip. But yeah, being someone who's in his late 20s. But, I have time to make that up. So I was a little more aggressive, of course, in my investing. And that ended up working out for me. But, the first 2 years of my investing, I ended up losing money. And it really took an effort of, again, really hunkering down, getting into a good routine, getting my psyche and my mentality in the right place to have, have that routine, have that mentality to really learn what my trading style was going to be and be able to, again, learn particular styles that resonated with me and to get that going. Like I said, for me, that was a 2-year process of a little bit of pain and a little bit of suffering, some losing of money, but it was money that I was never going to see because it was going into my IRA in the first place. And again, that was something that I was able to afford to lose. It wasn't, the mortgage. It wasn't the car payment. It wasn't, food for the table. And that's an important thing that I, again, always stress to people.
That's a really good tip. And, if you're young and if you should definitely set up an IRA, because I got to tell you, life goes by so fast. And next thing you know, you're thinking, what on earth? It's my 30th birthday and I don't even have an IRA. So I think for those of you that don't have one, the younger, the better. Start one and put some money in there. Save for your nest egg down the road. And one day you'll thank us for this advice. I wish that I got that advice in my early 20s. I didn't start anything like that till I was in my 30s. But, if I would have started when I was in my 20s, I'd probably have a lot more money socked in there. So that's a very good advice. So, Joseph, we know, you're so busy with, going to school, and not only that, but you've done trading videos, you were managing a room. What sacrifices did you have to make to become better at trading? And, kind of have a 2-part to this. How did you balance other priorities in life around trading? Because there's so many people that, trade with us. They're trading part-time. They're going to school. Some of them are even in high school. So I'm really impressed with the high school traders that are in this chat. I wish I would have started trading when I was in high school and, had a head start. But, how do you, what sacrifices did you make to become better at trading? And how do you balance, your other priorities in your life around trading?
So if I may, I'll actually tackle the second portion of the question first, which
Sure.
is my major item that I would suggest to everyone is you need to set boundaries, you need to set limits in terms of what you are going to invest in terms of your own personal time. And that's going to relate upon, what your goals are as an investor. If you are someone who wants to and has the ability to do this full time and you're going to treat it like your job, then you want to treat it like it's your job. You're going to be there, 9 to 5. You're going to be putting in the hours, to get the project done, to use whatever metaphor you want to use from a job standpoint. You need to make sure that if this is going to be your full-time job, that you're treating it like such and you're putting in the appropriate hours that go along with that. If you are someone like myself who has, a career that looks to be outside of a full-time, investing in equities, it's difficult sometimes. There are times where, trading to a certain extent can put strain on your relationships because maybe your girlfriend or boyfriend or significant other wants to, go out that morning. They want to go grab breakfast and you say, hey, no, I got something that I really need to watch. I'd love to do that, but I got to be at the market open at 9:30 and I need to make sure that I'm there in case things don't go well. There are times where you're just not able to do the things that you want to do. And I would say to that, you want to make sure that you are setting yourself up for success in a way of setting up your hours that meet your goals. If you're a part-time trader like me, again, I limit myself to 2 to 3 hours a day if I'm going to be spending the day trading. I have, like I said, many responsibilities. I've got 2 jobs on top of, doing 18 credits a semester, pursuing these 2, degrees that I'm going after. I make sure that I'm looking at this and saying, I'm taking the time and I'm allocating what I can allocate. So I go, okay, I got 2 hours today that I can trade. And for me, I think that the market open is going to be the place for me to do that. I know that, I don't need to be anywhere between 9:30 and maybe 11:30. So that's a great time for me. I limit myself to 2 hours. If I don't hit my profit window, that's too bad, so sad. Move on to the next day, get out of there and go do what you need to do. Don't let trading overtake your personal life and your own personal responsibilities that you have. Make sure that you limit yourself to what you need based on your investment, objectives and what you plan to do. Again, if you're a full-time trader, then God bless you. You're there from, if not earlier than 9, maybe you're doing like what I would say, which is putting in the time to get your routine going. You're behind your computer at 9, you're getting ready, 9:30, hit go, and you're off. And if you're a full-time trader, that 4 o'clock comes around, maybe perhaps if you are looking to do some, aftermarket trading, you're hanging around a little bit longer, but you set yourself up with a particular time frame. And once that time frame is over, check out for the day. Make sure you set yourself up for, for a break every now and then. Obviously, you want to make sure you line that up with a time where you're not in any position so you don't miss out on anything. But you want to make sure that you set yourself up for breaks because just like any other job, you can get burnt out. You don't want to get burnt out. You want to make sure that you're keeping your brain functioning. You want to be spry. You want to be quick on your feet. You want to make smart, educated decisions. Get a break in. Take a 15-minute break if it's to get a coffee, whatever it is. Take an hour lunch break if you want. Whatever it is, set these things up. Make a schedule for yourself and follow it. Don't divert from it unless there is an absolute necessity for you to do so. And if you do that, that will help you, again, within your personal life to be able to separate your trading and your personal life and your responsibilities for any jobs you may have, your family, your friends, your loved ones, etc. And again, I can't stress that enough. Set those hours, stick to a schedule, and execute.
Joseph, I got to tell you, I can relate to that because I just want to add to that. I trade full time and, I'm obsessed. I'm like at, my computer and I'm looking at the charts pre-market. And I do a lot of research even the night before to kind of look at charts that I want to look at for the next day. And sometimes even those charts I look at the night before and none of them are on the scanner. So I don't even bother trading those ones because there's no momentum for day trades. So sometimes, those reviews I do the night before, they're of no value to me sometimes the next day. And it's just part of the business. But I got to tell you, one of the things I wasn't doing before, when I used to work in the office, I would have my lunch break and, we'd go out and we'd take our lunch. And it's so easy that when you're working from home, to not take that break because you're so, you're wondering if you're going to miss out. So one of the things I've even started doing, which I've started doing actually at the beginning of this year, so not too long ago, I thought, I don't take a break and I really need to. But one of the things I wasn't doing was eating my lunch. And I wasn't even eating anything till like almost 4 o'clock, which is not healthy. So I started to actually pack my lunch as if I was going to take it with me to work, so that it's basically organized. And you know what? Now when it's, time for that, lunchtime, 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, I just go and help myself and it's pretty much ready. So it alleviates that stress. I feel more organized. I feel like I don't have to think about, oh, what am I going to eat now? And, it does affect your trading. I don't care what anyone says, you need a break. Sometimes even 10 minutes is good, but you need a break because it helps you get refocused, especially if you're in a trade right now that you're not happy with the direction that it's going. And, it's very easy to question your own trade. And then you're thinking, did I make the right decision taking this trade? So, sometimes taking that breather, you come back refreshed. And now when you look at the chart, you might see it in a different way. Sometimes, I've walked away and I come back and now the trade's going in the right direction because it's also about being patient. And a lot of us sometimes are not patient. So very important to really take the break. So that was really, really helpful what you just shared. So if you could change, Joseph, one thing about your trading, just one thing, what would it be?
Past or present? How about that?
Okay, I'll let you give us two.
Fair enough. I ran
whatever
myself
you want,
into that
whatever
one.
you want. It's this chat's for you. It's all about you.
Oh no, I kid. But
I know.
So for the past, I would say I wish that I had stumbled upon a group like United Traders sooner. And I mean, I say that obviously I know I'm a part of it now, but when I was a starting, trader and I was looking for, direction and I'm looking for ways to be able to learn, again, I can't stress enough, being a part of a team like this is imperative to your success. It allows you to be able to be, more successful than you would have if you were going at it alone. And if I could change one thing, it would be to have great mentors like yourself, like TJ, like the entire group that we have here. To be able to have you guys behind me as a new trader, I would have loved to have had that. Because again, that would have allowed me to have an even more solid foundation. And then who knows, maybe I wouldn't be in law school. Maybe I would have just been a full-time trader with you guys. But that's probably the one thing I would have switched if I was a new trader. If I am looking at myself now as a trader, I would say that I'm still prone nowadays to still having that perfectionist standpoint. I'm better at it now to where, again, it doesn't need to click, or check 10 of the 10 boxes that I have. But there are times where, I have something lined up. I have an idea. I have something that I want to get into. And it's just not checking all the boxes. And I just say, you know what? I'm just not going to do it. And you miss out on it. And of course, FOMO is the death of many, many traders. So anytime that there is FOMO on my part, I swallow the pride and I just don't get into it and I don't make myself suffer through that. But, because again, you don't want to be a part of that heartbreak. But there are times where I do wish that I could take a step back and not be the perfectionist that I tend to be and allow myself to let the stock tell me where it wants to go, rather than me trying to tell the stock where it needs to go. And I find that that's, an issue every now and then that I run into that I'd love to change.
That's some really good advice. I mean, you don't even have to trade full time. Sometimes I want to tell myself, part of the reason I got into trading because I wanted the freedom to do whatever I want, when I want. And I noticed a lot of times, I put in a lot of hours. And, one of my plans for even this year is to not trade all day. I don't need to trade all day. you know what, if the market's doing well, like, good. I don't need to be trading all day. I have my goal. I met my goal. When a goal is achieved for the day, I need to stop. And sometimes I don't. And, I think, why am I doing this? It's just human nature. Sometimes you just want to keep trading because everything's going so great. But you know what? The next day, I need to sometimes say, you know what? I had a really good day today. I really need to take tomorrow off and use that to refresh and refocus. So, it's very important for us to do that. Some people don't look at trading as a job, and it really is a job. And, even Gilly was mentioning here, and thanks to Gilly for taking the time to type that up. But, it's important for people to take a break and, go for a walk, listen to music, do some stretching. It's so important. I mean, trading, people sit all day. And I mean, I have a desk that it can actually stand up. So it actually lifts up, and then you can I can actually stand and trade. But some people don't have that. And so, I was reading an article that if you sit all day, doesn't matter what you're doing, you could be doing an office job. It's actually not good for your blood circulation. So, health wise, it's really important to take those breaks and stretch and go for a walk. And, if you have a dog, then take him out and then come back, because you need to take a break. And, we preach this, but I'm at fault too, and I have to do it more often. So I'm going to, I have a little sticky note saying, take a break, which is so true. So you've really, really probably connected with a lot of people that go through the same thing as you. So that was really, really helpful. So I just want to ask you one last thing, and then I want to open it up to the floor. I just have 2 more comments after this, though. What are your top 3 tips for new traders?
So my top 3 tips for new traders is, you guys post them basically almost every single day in the chat room, and I really do love that you guys do this, and that is, it is all about risk management, learning what that is, and understanding why it's going to allow you to be a successful trader, and proper position in terms of your portfolio size. That is, proper portion sizing. That is 2 of the major items that I think are absolute necessity as a new trader for you to learn about, and for you to, allow you to have a great foundation to be able to be a successful trader. The third one that I would have is that it really boils down to doing due diligence. So if you set yourself up for success, if you get yourself into, and I include, and I know for some they might not feel this way, but I include my morning routine as a part of my due diligence, because I'm not able to do effective research into a company. I'm not able to do the right things if I'm not in the right mindset. So I look at maintaining a good, mentality. I look at my morning routine. I look at taking those breaks that we talked about. I look at that as all part of the tools that I bring when I'm doing my due diligence on a company, when I'm making sure that I'm using the right tools to set myself up for success. But it's about making sure that you, again, have proper risk management. Again, for me, that is, looking at what I'm willing to invest in a company, and at least having a 1-to-1 ratio, if not a 2-to-1 ratio. If I'm putting in 50 cents and I'm willing to lose 50 cents, I want at least 50 cents back, or $1. It's either a 1-to-1 or a 2-to-1 ratio for me. I'm setting up stop losses to make sure that if it doesn't work out the way I want it to work out, I'm looking at a 5 to 7% loss on the position at most. I'm out of there. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. You don't dwell on it. You move on to the next opportunity. You make sure that you have proper sizing of your positions. Again, never, ever over 20% will I ever put my portfolio into something, even if I think it's a shoe-in. And the more volatility that I, perceive for this, the less I'm going to actually put into it. I'm going to keep it on a smaller percentage of my portfolio. Yes, it's going to feel great when it bumps up, 100% and I double my money in the investment. And sure, it would have been great if I had put $10,000 into it rather than $1,000. But that's the difference between, if things don't go well, that you're able to take advantage of those, those 65% that I have that I'm correct in. You're making sure that you're running them at the appropriate, you're running them as for every penny that you possibly can get for them while within your trading boundaries. And you're making sure that for those 3 to 5 or 5 to 7% losses where you're getting stopped out on, you're stopped. You're not holding on wishing, for a prayer at that point in time. So that's what I think it boils down for me. It's those three items that really help a new trader be successful. Again, just to close on that, that is risk management, portfolio sizing, position sizing, and for you to be able to have, again, a solid mentality and doing the appropriate due diligence into your trades.
Well, I love all those three, and I hope people took notes of that, because those are like really important ones. And I just want to add my three. One of the big ones for me is an advice for the new traders. Really, is stop listening to the noise out there. I got to tell you, there's so much bullshit sometimes on social media that you will read about, and you're in a trade and you're thinking, oh my God, this trade's, crap. Why did I take this? Let me see what social media is saying. They go on social media. There's other people that are not liking the trade, or they're knocking it down. Then the people panic, and then they get out of the trade and they take a loss. And the next thing you know, the trade consolidates, and what happens? The trade moves. So, you can't listen to everything that you read on social media, because it's not always right. And you have to look at the price action and the chart. And I get this all the time. I have people asking me, I had one person ask me last week, I'm going to give an example. I was in a reversal trade with the ticker called QTM. And the ticker was at $3.50. And I took a position in the trade, and it was actually down $2. It was earlier in the day, it was at about $5.50. And it was down to $3.50 a share. And I saw that, and I decided that I was going to take a trade on the reversal, because I started seeing buyers coming back. So I went into the trade. There was another person that was also in the trade. And then the person messaged me and said, oh, you know what? I'm not in this trade anymore. Why are you in it? There's a lot of people that are saying it's a terrible company, that, the ticker's crap. And so I said to the person, where are you reading this? Are you on social media? And then they responded back and said, yes. And I said, you know what? Mistake number one, don't listen to that. I said, I am looking at the chart. I said, I want you to look at the chart and follow the price action. And that's what you decide, and that's what you do. And within probably like half an hour, that ticker went to over 380. And the person then messaged me back, and I said, are you watching the chart and seeing what's happening here? Because the ticker consolidated. And you could see that was going to be happening. And they said, you know what? I wasn't looking at that. I made my decision based on what I was reading on social media. So my advice to people is, don't listen to everything that you read. Do your own due diligence. Follow especially in day trades, follow the price action, and stick to the trade. Stick to your trading plan. Stick to your goal. And don't listen to everything that you read. There's a lot of people that are, could be, let's say, not going long on the trade. Maybe they're trying to short it. So, of course, they're going to make comments that, the trade's no good. So just be cognizant of that. The other tip really is to make sure you have a goal and stick to it. So if your trading goal is to make 5% of your capital every day, or your goal today is to make, $500 or $300 or $200 or X thousands of dollars, that's fine. Everyone has a different goal. But I got to tell you, when you achieve your goal, because there are going to be a lot of days where the trades are going well, achieved your goal, stop trading, close down, and enjoy the rest of your day off. Like you deserve it, and you've achieved it. Move on. And the last thing is, hope is not a strategy. So many people say, oh, I hope this goes to $3. I took the trade and I hope it goes to $3. And I hear this all the time. And I'm thinking, why are you hoping? Like, it's not a strategy. You have to pay attention to the technicals. And, I just don't think it's good when people think, I hope it goes there. You could, maybe in your mind think that, but if that's why you're in the trade, because you're hoping it's going to go there, you should really rethink why you're in the trade. So just be cognizant of all these things, because at the end of the day, you want it to preserve your capital, preserve your gains, so that you can trade again tomorrow. So many people sometimes don't do that. They go in heavy on a position, and now they've lost too much money. And you know what? They can't even trade now for a week, or they can't even trade the next day. So, there's always going to be a day to trade in the market. So don't need to be overly risky with your trade positions. And, sometimes, people want to get into a trade. You got a position size, but I encourage limit orders. So many people are jumping in, they go to the market, and they are overpaying for the ticker. So really try to do a limit order at all times when possible. If there's a lot of momentum, then sometimes, market order is the route. But a lot of times, especially on swing trade ideas, I got to tell you, market order is not the route. You need to do limit order, because there will be a pullback. Or if someone's sharing that they're in a swing trade and they're going in it at the moment, that's fine. They will share their price that they got in. If you like the setup of the chart and you want to go into the swing, then try to get in at the same price they got in, or try to put a limit order for less. But don't go to the market and chase that, because a swing trade, there's no rush to get in it. You can take your time and let the trade work. Give it the time it needs to get to the goal. So
absolutely. And if I could, I'd like to chime in and just reiterate and really jump on what you're saying is, guys, she's nailing it right on the head. There's two major parts that I hope that you really got from what she's saying. And that is, first of all, when you set yourself goals every single day, that's a part of your strategy. It's the hours that we talked about that you're putting in for the day. It's, again, if it's your job and it's a full-time, you're treating it like it. And like she's saying, when you reach your goals and you reach your investment, goal for that particular day, congratulations. If your goal was a 10% increase in your portfolio, take the rest of the day off. With the moment that you think that you're at the craps table and you think you're hot and you're running, a good string of die, next thing you know, all of a sudden you hit a little bit of a bump and you are just starting to lose it from that point in time. So when you set up your hours, you stick to your routine and you set yourself up for success, sometimes it includes stepping away from what you might perceive as being additional profits. It's wishful dollars, I think, as Killer T said, right? Wishful thinking is wishful dollars. So, when you reach that profit potential and you reach that point for the day, don't be afraid to step away and say, you know what, I deserve to, go get myself something nice for the day. I deserve to do something. I deserve to take a break.
That's why I want to listen.
And the alternative, or the second item that I really wanted to bring forward is, again, she stated it, limit orders, limit order. Always make sure that whenever you're going to enter into a position, that you are not at the mercy of what the spread is. You're not at the mercy of what's going on in front of you. Don't just jump in at what the ask is. Make sure that you are looking at on your terms, that you're getting in when you want to get into it. Set that limit order so you know for sure that if it's going to go through, it's going to be for what you want it to be at. You can perhaps be maybe a little more lax on that when you're looking to get out of the position. Maybe if you have reached your profit goals for that particular stock, and perhaps it is in the midst of a reversal and making its way back down, perhaps it wouldn't hurt you to go in at the market. Perhaps it wouldn't hurt you if you really were okay with leaving a few cents on the board to be able to go in with where the bid is, so you know that you're going to be able to get rid of those shares. But at the end of the day, going in at the limit and getting out the limit if possible is absolutely key to making sure that you're going to get in at the right price and you're out at the right price. Those are two things that Vegas hit the nail on the head. Absolutely.
Thank you. And I got to say, I love that there's so many women here tonight listening and that are trading. I keep seeing more and more women getting involved in trading, and I love it. So so happy they're here tonight. Can you tell us, Joseph, before we wrap up the session tonight, because I know you've done a lot of videos and that are pre-recorded and they're on your YouTube channel. Can you tell me, do you have anything that's specifically on TOS? So many people use TOS and they are not familiar with it. They get lost in TOS. And do you have any videos at all that are already pre-done in your YouTube channel?
I do not, but I do have very good news, at least from my standpoint.
Oh my God, what is it?
I do have very good news.
I want to hear it.
I would hold on a regular basis. I would try and hold basically Thinkorswim 101 live webinars. Unfortunately, I never recorded them, and I would prefer to just kind of do it organically so I could take questions from people who wanted to learn whatever they wanted to learn back at TTR. But I am more than willing to be able to, hold a live webinar on Thinkorswim. So I'd be able to do all the way from monitor through education. Each of those tabs go over what each of the items are and hit those major things that I think everyone should know. I'm more than happy to take time to do a live webinar, take maybe 3 hours, because it does take a while to go through everything. Take 3 hours to be able to do a Q&A and a live stream for everyone to jump onto so you guys can watch and learn. On the side of that as well, I'm more than willing to do a educational video on Thinkorswim. However, to prevent you guys from falling asleep watching a 4-hour video, I would probably get the groups, questions as to what they would want covered. And then once we get those particular items in line, I can make sure I do an adequate analysis on what those, what you guys want to learn. And then I can do it that way.
Okay. You know what? I'm going to have to take you up on that offer, and we'll schedule something. We'll talk offline and we'll schedule something, because so many people, I'm not joking, some of these videos on YouTube are so confusing, boring to death. The moderator confuses the hell out of me. And imagine that you're new, you're learning TOS, and you're so lost. You don't even know who you can talk to and ask. You get so many different answers calling the helpline. And I would love it if we could set something up, because so many people use it, and what's out there right now for people to watch and listen to is so confusing. I'm more confused than when I first started. So that would be great. And we'll definitely set that up for everybody that uses TOS. And remember, we talked about earlier too, if you're not using TOS, you don't need to fund the account. It's a fabulous research tool where Joseph has mentioned he finds a lot of information on what's driving the stock, looking at the fundamentals, a lot of free information that you can use from TOS to get free information without paying for any kind of subscriptions. So regardless of that, you should still try to use TOS, and we're going to definitely schedule a TOS class with Joseph very soon, sooner than later, because we want to take advantage of making sure that the members are using the platform properly. So that's really, really good. So I want to now open to the floor and see if there's any questions. So TOS Mahas is Thinkorswim, the Thinkorswim platform. So that's the short form. It's a good question, because you know what? I used to wonder, what is TOS? And what does TOS mean? And they're like, no, it's short form for think or swim. I'm like, okay, I get it now. So don't think that you're asking a question that you don't get. So no question is a dumb question. So, and it's from TD Ameritrade. So for those of you that are not familiar with that. I'm just trying to see if there's any questions from the room. I think we're good.
I did notice one, Vegas.
Yes.
I noticed actually two, sorry, and I forget, you'll have to excuse. Okay. I'm sorry for the person who did ask it. I'm not going to be able to get your name out there, but I saw someone ask, how can I look up outstanding shares that are available for a company?
That was the question someone was asking, the outstanding shares so when they go do a trade. Yep.
So I would just refer that by saying, go to any of your major, financial websites, whether if it's Yahoo or if it's Zacks or if it's, whatever that is, whatever you prefer, go to that particular website and they will list what the outstanding shares are. Whatever, again, yes, you can go to places like that and you'd be able to, again, look at what the outstanding shares are. And of course, as we all know, right, when a company incorporates, they're putting out what their outstanding shares are, what they have available to trade. They're going to establish what those shares, each one is worth. Sometimes it's worth, a fraction of a cent. Sometimes they start off at $1. But when those companies go and become publicly listed, the only shares that they're available to be able to trade are those outstanding shares. And that's extremely important to know, because if you have a company that has a large amount of outstanding shares available, sometimes it can be in the billions with the B, right? So if you have billions of shares available for trading, and you're looking at millions of shares or being traded on a daily basis, you can say with certainty that this is something that is very liquid, and that is something where volatility is going to be a little bit on the lower side for you. It's going to be a completely different game if you've got a stock that has 2 million shares outstanding and sees perhaps maybe 20,000 shares traded throughout the course of the day. You're going to see high volatility for something like that. So what you're looking at, again, that's going to be a major item for you to want to look at if you're looking for a company to invest in. And honestly, you can find that information on any major finance website. Again, it's up to your preference. It could be, again, Zacks, it could be Yahoo, it could be whatever you prefer. Just look for outstanding shares within their breakdown of the company and their financials. You'll see it right there, and that'll be able to let you know what that is.
What about Joseph FinViz? Because a lot of people use FinViz, and it shows the shares in the float and outstanding shares. Is that data, in your opinion, reliable or accurate?
Yes. I mean, I do like FinViz. It's another free, form that you can go to be able to, be able to make a screener. It's not all of their features that you would get if you were doing their elite service. But if you go to finviz.com and you were to go to their screener tab, you're able to create, screeners just like you kind of would utilizing a Thinkorswim with a couple of different or new items that you wouldn't find on Thinkorswim. But it's a cool little feature that they have there. The information, from my end of it, I view it as being trustworthy. It is a great free resource without even having to, get the elite service that they have there.
Okay, and does the TOS scripts have technical indicators for chart analysis and for any scanners at all? I mean, I'm not a user of TOS, so I can't answer that.
I'm sorry, could you repeat that one more time?
Sure. If TOS scripts for technical indicators and chart analysis, does it have any scripts included for the technical indicators in order to analyze the charts or in order to scan?
Absolutely, and that's something. Absolutely, that's something I'd be glad to go over in depth for Thinkorswim when we do the tutorial on it. But basically, they have a plethora of tools. Everything that you saw on the, or at least a majority of what I posted in the photo earlier that showed my setup on Thinkorswim. Most of those are all studies that are packaged with Thinkorswim. So if you were to get Thinkorswim and you were to utilize it right out of the box, you can get, ADX, ATR, accumulation distribution, you can get beta, you can get CCI, you can get DMI, you can get MACD, you can get all of the major indicators that you would want to find. It's pushing, 200 to 300 indicators that are packaged with the program right out of the box.
Okay.
It's a great resource, and like I said, yes, they're right there. And GSCT just mentioned it. They do have great studies. So again, studies can be your price charts or what gets overlaid on the price chart. Those are considered studies, and your lower indicators as well, which were the long rectangles that I had. All of those are considered studies. They also have strategies as well, which are trading strategies. So, for example, if you were to go to the Eller stochastic, which basically works off of the Eller stochastic, it is a trading strategy that you're able to utilize right out of the box that, again, uses the Eller stochastic in order to be able to tell you, hey, you want to get into this trade here and you want to sell over here, or you want to go short here and then you want to close that position here. They have great resources, again, from studies that help you be able to translate what the stock and what the equity is trying to tell you. And then they have strategies that try and help you or push you into a direction to learn what might be a trading strategy that might speak to you. So it's great resources, all of which are packaged with the program right out of the box. And then they do have a great feature as well where you can build your own studies as well using what we call ThinkScript. So you use a ThinkScript editor and you're able to do basically coding, and you're able to create scripts. And that's what I use to be able to make some of those studies a little more approachable and easy to understand. And I also, again, just like we were talking about before with the Ichi Moku strategy, I'm able to create things from scratch as well. And it's a great feature to have on there.
That is really good. And we'll probably do maybe a little lesson on Ichi Moku Cloud, because I love it. And I think a lot of people don't even, they see the cloud on charts that are posted. And unfortunately, no one really even knows what the cloud does. And it's so useful. And I think we'll probably do a session on that at a later time. But Joseph, I really liked earlier you talked about trading cryptos. And people, you were talking how it's kind of new. You've dabbled in it a little bit. And, can you tell us, what your thoughts are on trading cryptos different from trading equities?
So I was going to jokingly say don't, and then just leave it at that.
Don't ask you?
Well, no, don't ask me. Don't trade in cryptos.
Don't trade cryptos. Okay.
But I joke.
Stay away.
So here's my thing. And it's easy for me to say this now. Obviously, those who were with me over at TTR, they know what my stance is and was on cryptocurrencies. There's a reason why I never got into it, and I am in the game as late as I am now. And that is, I viewed cryptocurrencies as a great idea. It's just not going to be executed in the manner that it needs to be in order to become, the universal currency that we can use when we're all in the midst of space traveling and we don't have to worry about different countries. Bitcoin is not going to be the international currency that we're going to use in a space station. That's the end all be all. I'm sorry, that's not what it's going to be. I look at cryptocurrencies as being more of a bubble. And I viewed it as a bubble, ever since, even back when we were making our way up to 20,000, I said, yeah, sure. We're going to see 20,000. It's going to happen. There's way too much momentum on this. People are really into it, but it's going to come crashing down. And, again, that is something that I was staunch on and I was steadfast about, and I never got into it. Now that we've come back a little bit from that and we're down within, Bitcoin, I believe, being in the 8,000 range now. I looked at that as an opportunity for me to start to get into it. So I'm now in cryptocurrencies. It's more of, again, a learning opportunity because I want to try to not just ignore it completely. I want to diversify. I want to try and see what exactly this is all about. So I'd be glad to go into, I guess, what my views are on it, I guess, specifically. But, that's like a basic overview of that.
No, that's great. I mean, everyone's had a little bit of a crypto scare. I mean, I know a lot of people, and what's funny is I actually know equities traders that actually went to trade cryptos, fell in love with crypto trading, and actually that was their new thing. And then they now have come back to trade equities. So it's quite an interesting transition from equities to cryptos, then back to equities, so, it's always something new, right? But now they're back. So they're staying away from crypto, although crypto's still alive, but they're back. So for the viewers that are listening, if you're in the Vegas Fireside Chat Spotlight channel, you can see that Joseph has posted his YouTube educational video on Ichi Moku charts. And it's a fabulous video. I gotta tell you, I have listened to so many trading videos in the last few years because, I'm a self-taught trader. And, besides reading books and, listening to other people from other channels and rooms, and watching and listening to DVDs, I rely on these YouTube videos because they're free and they're helpful. And I am not being biased at all. I got to tell you, because I even watched these videos before I even knew Joseph.
And I have to tell you, the way that he explains things, even if you have no clue what's an Ichi Moku chart, I don't even know if I'm pronouncing it right.
You're good.
But am I?
Yep, you're good. Ichi Moku.
They're all going to make fun of me later. But I got to tell you, the way that he has explained that that concept in the videos, you got to listen to it. It's going to change how you look at charts. It's going to help you understand so much better. And you're going to see that the way he explains it, you're going to walk away understanding Ichi Moku charts. So you're not going to go in there lost and come out lost, because that's what happens with a lot of videos I've seen. I'm more confused than ever. And the way that you actually, Joseph, has explained your, educational concept. I mean, even someone in high school, like grade 9, or even someone in grade 7 could probably watch that video and totally understand. So I got to tell you, it's really, really good.
Thank you very much for those kind words. I mean, that is the goal at the end of the day for what I did with, TTR, and why I'm happy that TTR is now a part of United Traders, because we share a similar goal in that we want to help people to learn. And for me, again, and you hit it on the introduction, which was my goal was to make this accessible to the normal, person who wasn't, heavily, versed within finance, who didn't have the primer going into this, to be able to have a one-stop kind of shop to where they could look at something. It's in plain English, and I try to explain it as well as I can, as concisely as I can, and as effectively as I possibly can. And again, just to get the praise from you means a lot. And thank you so much. I hope to be able to make videos like that in the future, but instead under the United Traders banner, and you guys would be able to access them, of course, and we'll try and find topics that you guys want to learn about, and we can take those and run with it, I guess.
No, that's great. I mean, I got to tell you, I'm really happy that we had this conversation tonight, and you've really given us so much information on so many free things that are in, Think or Swim. And we're going to come up with additional classes that are all going to be free, so that people can understand things better. And then we're going to do them in real time, so that especially those of you that are using TOS, you'll be able to follow along. So we'll actually do a screen share as well. So this way, when we're teaching the class, you can follow along and understand, because there's nothing better like following along to understand what we're doing. So we're going to schedule something soon. So I want to thank Joseph for graciously giving his time tonight to speak with everyone here, and answering all my questions, because I gave you so many, I know. Hopefully I didn't tire you out. And we look forward to collaborating more with Joseph, and he's going to be very instrumental in United Traders. And he will definitely be part of the legal team down the road as United Trader evolves to additional growth within the organization. So thank you so much, Joseph, for being with us tonight. And we look forward to speaking to you again. And I'm sure it won't be too long before we do that. So thank you everyone else too for giving us your time on a Sunday night. But then again, who wants to watch some boring things on TV when I'd rather be here learning something that's going to enhance my future or make a difference in your financial freedom and financial future. So I think it's an investment in yourself to be here, and time well spent. So I thank everyone. And Joseph, anything else you'd like to add to your fans that are very happy to be here tonight?
Well, thank you very much. I just want to thank you personally for the opportunity tonight to speak with everybody. It was an absolute pleasure. Thank you, everyone, for participating in the chat room. I am thankful for this opportunity. I am thankful for being a part of United Traders, and I am thankful to be able to work with you guys, from administration to all the teams that we have, to each and every single member. I'm looking forward to working with you, and we can all work together and learn from one another to grow and be better traders at the end of the day. So thank you so much for showing up tonight, and I hope everyone has a great evening, or if you're on the opposite side of the globe, have a great morning as well.
A great morning. Yeah, Super Bloom. I mean, he's in China right now. So, I mean, I think it's, let's see, almost 10 o'clock in the morning for him. So everyone have a great night, and we'll post this recorded session shortly. For those of you that might have missed out, you'll be able to replay this. And, tomorrow we'll see what the market has in store for us, because we know last week was a little off the wall. So we'll see what the market's going to show us tomorrow. And I'd like to see some green tomorrow and some more bullish signals. So we'll see what happens tomorrow. Fingers crossed. We can't always predict what's going to happen, but hopefully things will be going the right direction and, make some money. So have a good night, everyone. And love you all for coming tonight. And we'll definitely talk again very soon.
Thank you, Vegas. Thank you, Joseph.